Hi, it is December the 13th, and I am 5 days away from moving to Trinidad and Tobago, which is my biggest dream come true. And I woke up this morning and just now realized that all of my wildest dreams did come true. And the reason why I didn't realize this before is because in the midst of going through a divorce and having to, reorder my entire life, the anxiety is what took the show, the front of the show. The anxiety and the stress of, trying to make things happen and things like that. And then I just suddenly woke up this morning and realized that all my wildest dreams have come true. And if you don't know where that phrase comes from, it comes from one of my favorite movies of all time, Napoleon Dynamite, when they say, vote for Pedro and all of your wildest dreams will come true. I don't know why I just like the way that sounds, but I talk a lot about people making their wildest dreams come true because, sometimes we dream up things. This is how it works for me. I think of something and then I start to modify it to fit the circumstances that I'm in right at the time, which is another way of saying I'm looking at things, making my dreams smaller to fit and trying to fit them into the reality that I'm experiencing at the time that I'm creating those dreams. But what I realize is that you have to keep your mind open, and that is the key to making your wildest dreams come true. Because let me show you something right now. This is a vision board. And I made this vision board at a business conference in Fort Lauderdale in 2018 with my favorite business coach, Rosetta Thurman. And it was amazing. So I went down to Fort Lauderdale and we did all kinds of different things. And one of the things that we did was this vision board. And for me, it was the first time I ever did a vision board because, I just never thought of it before. But also, I kind of thought it was corny. And I was just like, meh. But because, it was a whole bunch of us in the room together doing this vision board, and it was fun. It was fun. So I just went ahead and went with the flow. So let me show you what's on this vision board and why it's so incredible that these things came true. All right. I'm going to bring it a little closer so you can get a good view. Now, this phrase here that says American on the road, that's because this is the year that I decided that I wanted to go to a Caribbean carnival. I didn't really know exactly which one because at first my idea was to go to Carabana in Canada. But what happened was later in the following year after this, I met up with some people here in Washington, D.C. who go on a trip to Trinidad and Tobago Carnival every year. And I was like, it was amazing how I met them because it was a dance class. It was a soca dance class. And I just went to the soca dance class. And just so happened to be that this was the last class before they left on the trip in 2019. And I was just like shocked to hear. I was like, oh my God, all I have to do is like pay the money. They had a concierge to handle everything. So damn exciting. So I was just like, okay. So I did it. And let me see. So my dream was to go to a carnival. I didn't even know which carnival I wanted to go to, but I wanted to experience that because I love Caribbean music and I love Caribbean food and I love Caribbean people. And I wanted to wear a beautiful costume. And so if you look at this closely, down here in the corner, it says Revelations at 50. That's because I wanted to do carnival for my 50th birthday in 2020. And so I was working out and, doing all the things that I needed to do. And then you see it says, this part right here, authentic Caribbean experience. And this one, trip to your roots. And then, even there's even more because down here, Bliss Behaving, if you know that my business is Life Bliss. And then there's this one, work on my own terms, your business, your way. And then there's a picture of a hammock. Why? Because I love hammocks and I like chilling. And this part about eat clean, whatever. This is actually because I was doing, at the time I was working on healthy eating that is anti-diet. And, this part right here, this is even, I'll tell you about this later, but this is just, I just created this to be the sunshine of the whole thing, but not really paying attention to these peppers. But they have come in, even they are in my wildest dreams. So hold on, that thing fell on the floor. So this is me, 2020, in Trinidad and Tobago, having the time of my life. So back then, I just wanted to do this experience. I love the Caribbean, and I did want to live there, but at the time, I had no way of fitting that into my reality. Back then, my marriage, so I thought, was intact, and I had to work, and then figuring out how was I going to keep this house and work, live someplace else. And also, I have friends from the Caribbean, and from the islands they're from are very expensive. And so the reality was, I just didn't think that it would happen. So my plan was to, when retirement age came, for my husband to retire, and I would just work remotely in Mexico, because Mexico seemed like the easiest thing. It was close, it's less expensive, well, at least I thought, than the Caribbean, and it's not the United States. Because if you can remember, when this was going on, this was 2018, we had an idiot in the White House, which the same idiot we have in the White House right now. And so there's been many times when I thought, I just got to leave the United States of America because this is some bullshit. Started back when George W. Bush was in office, and we thought that he was the worst and the dumbest president. Oh boy, was we wrong. I wish. So fast forward to today. I would have never imagined that my marriage of 30 years would end. And so, and at a time when, I'm also an empty nester, my daughter's all grown up. So, this whole idea of living in the Caribbean still didn't hit me until when I went there, let me go back. I went there, and there was a moment during Carnival Day. I was walking next to the truck with the big speakers and the music, and I just looked up at the blue sky, and I just thought, I'm surrounded by the most beautiful people in the world, in the most beautiful country in the world, and this is where I belong. And at the time, I meant this is where I belonged right then, because throughout my life, I've gone through different times when I just felt like I'm not where I belong, and because I don't like it here. And that happened a lot. Even though I love Washington, D.C., there's been times when I was just like, this is not where I belong. This is not where I belong. I just lay in bed and wishing I was someplace else. So that feeling that came over me that day, in that beautiful costume and with all the music and all the people around me and all the just everything I loved, had no idea that years later I would meet a very special person. And the way that I met this person is also incredible and unbelievable, because I was in a Facebook group with her, and I don't generally read my Facebook instant messages. I mean, direct messages. I just don't. And this particular time, I was searching for something. I don't know if it was for a ticket or an address or something like that. And I opened it. It was late July of 2024. And so I was looking for something and I saw, oh, I got a message. The message came in the day before. And that's pretty incredible because usually a message will sit in that box for months, weeks, however long. I would never catch a message like right after it was sent because I just don't look in there. And it was a nice little sweet message. It was just, lady saying, hey, I'm coming to DC in December to visit my aunt and it would be cool if we can meet up. So I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Okay. So I said, yeah, that would be great. I asked maybe little questions. Oh, have you ever been here before? Or something like that. And then chit chat, just ordinary chit chat, no big deal. Well, little did I know that I was going to get to know this person a lot more than I had expected because at that time, my marriage did start to fall apart, and I had moved out of the marital bedroom in May. And remember, this is July. So I was having the time of my life in that summer, going to parties. This particular weekend, I had been to a party boat on Friday, and I went to a foam party on Saturday, and Sunday I didn't feel good. So I was just like, oh, I don't feel so good. And come Monday, that's when I found out I had COVID. I went through the whole COVID pandemic, never got it, but then 2024, boom, I got COVID. So this means that I was at home. Not only I wasn't going to work, and I wasn't working. I didn't work from home because I just couldn't. I had to stay in bed. That's how bad it was. And I wasn't in the streets having fun. So I had plenty of time to get to know this person, chit-chatting and just shooting the breeze. And she kept me company for this time that would have been really lonely because I was at home alone, in the bedroom alone, because I didn't want to spread my COVID in the house. So pretty much I would just wake up in the morning and wait until my husband went to work and then go downstairs, get something to eat and all that stuff, and then handle everything that I want to handle, and then come back, up into the room, in the afternoon if he was coming home, and just stay up here so that I wouldn't spread the disease. And little did I know that I would fall in love with this person. And it's a woman named Giselle. And so we chit chat for several months, and she wanted me to come to Tobago Carnival. Now, remember, I had been to Trinidad Carnival, but I had never been to Tobago Carnival. In fact, I don't even know if it had started yet because this is only like the third or fourth year of it. So she was begging me to come. It's in October, and Trinidad Carnival's in February, and sometimes I guess March. But anyway, I couldn't come because the communications began in July. Then we really became more interested in talking to each other in like September. So it was like I couldn't manage to do that. And one of the things that's interesting is that she was encouraging me to come, and she was like, I will handle everything. Well, I had no real way of understanding what that meant. But she really did mean she was going to handle everything. She comes from one of those places where people just are so warm and so hospitable, and that they just like that. That was something that I probably would not have experienced here in the US, and certainly not here in DC. So back to all of this. So at some point I just thought about it, and the stress of getting the divorce and how was I going to manage to live here. It's very expensive to live pretty much anywhere on the East Coast, but particularly in DC. And I could live on my salary, but I wouldn't live well. And that was really bothering me because at age 55, I'm just not ready to go back to the meager life. I'm supposed to be moving forward. This was the plan, and I'm just not ready to let go of the idea that I want to live the good life now. I did work. I worked hard. I did what I was supposed to do for the most part. And I wanted to live the good life. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, well, what the hell's going to stop me from just moving there? I had gone to visit in November and loved it. I wanted to go there and experience what it's like when it's not carnival. And so November was a time that I could do that. And then, and then Giselle came in December. and we really had a great time. And then in January, which is my birthday, she came back to DC after she, like 2 weeks after she went back home, came back and surprised me here. And so it wasn't until, I guess, the spring of 2025 that I really started thinking, what if I just moved there? And what that required is for me to really take seriously my other dream, which I don't talk much about because it seemed so far away and too big for me. The dream of being a content creator full time. Because I had a full time job in the local government, and I guess it's a good government job, but it's not really where I ever wanted to be. I never wanted to be a government worker. I that just wasn't the life for me. But at this time, I had finally landed a job that I actually like and care about. So I was, I wasn't unhappy or anything like that, but I still didn't, this wasn't the end. And then the fact that, retirement was not a reality for me because I was a late bloomer. And so the amount of money in retirement was never going to sustain me more than like a year or two. And so I just had to really think about it. I was like, maybe I need to really consider living somewhere where it might be a little less expensive than here. Now, Trinidad and Tobago ain't no cheap country, but it is less expensive than Washington, D.C. And even if I lived in a little apartment there, my lifestyle would be better than it would be here in a little apartment, because here I would just be going to work, sitting under them damn fluorescent lights for 8 hours a day, 4 days a week, because now we're back in the office 4 days a week. It's just a matter of time until they make us come back 5. And it's like a slap in the face to me, because we held it down for 3 whole years during the pandemic. We did everything. We held it down. And now this is what we get, some bullshit about, helping the local businesses stay in business and all that stuff, which is a total lie. But let's not go into the whole local politics part of it. But that's, there's other solutions for that. But all this is to say that I just didn't really, even though I went to that business conference back in 2018, and it was about entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, working for myself, not having to go to somebody's damn office for any period of time. It was always thinking small. And part of that was, I had been in a different little workshop of Rosetta's, and I was on the hot seat. And that's when I found out that I didn't really want to do one-on-one lifestyle coaching. I wanted to do retreats. And she said, don't shrink your dream, go for that. But I could not wrap my brain around how it was going to work. I mean, I tried a few little preliminary plans and tried to like loosely put it together, but it just wasn't coming together because I couldn't make it part of my reality. But now it is a part of my reality. But at the moment, I'm not doing retreats. I want to do content creation, which would lead to the retreats. And so this whole your business, your way part of it, it's just a small piece at the bottom. But finally, this is my reality. And that's also when I started to realize how much experience I have. I have a lot of experience in that I just never really believed in myself, and that I could make a whole living from it. Now, granted, it's going to be easier to make a whole living from it in a different country, in a different place than I'm in right now. But maybe it just took that for me to make it a real part of my reality. And so this whole long video is just here to say, don't shrink your dreams, and you have to keep your mind open for whatever the possibilities are, because you don't know how or when they are going to come in your face, to your face, and ready to go. And so in my wildest dreams, even though I put this together, and let me show it to you again. I mean, this thing is crinkly. I had it up in my office, and then we moved offices and I took it down, and I thought I don't want to throw it away because it's meaningful. I really was hoping for these things to come true. And oh yeah, the pepper part. So there's a pepper shortage in Tobago. I'm not really understanding why or what the situation is with that, but I started gardening in 2020. I wasn't even gardening when I did this. I started gardening in 2020 because my bestie came over my house with this garden bed, and because she was moving from a house to an apartment, she couldn't take it. So she brought it over and she was, yeah, I'm going to show you how to garden, because she knows all about gardening. And that was like the winter, like early 2020. But then, boom, COVID happened, and I didn't see her hardly at all because, she couldn't really come over. So I just decided to go ahead and try it myself. I made so many mistakes, screwed up so many things. And one of the things that I did do this, and it's ironic that this one particular crop I did that year, I had found this pepper called ahi lemon pepper. And I did not know that you have to start it early. So I just bought the seeds and threw them in there. And the plant started to grow. But by the time it started to get, mature enough to even start fruiting, it was too late in the season and about to get cold again. So it snowed, and I ran outside that day and I dug up that plant and I put it in a little clay pot and I brought it in the house. And I didn't know anything about overwintering. I just bought that thing in the house and left it in the house. And then, the following year, I just took it back outside and put it back in the bed when it was getting warm. And it flourished. I had peppers everywhere. And I like those little ahi lemon peppers because they were hot, but they were like an ambient heat. They were actually Peruvian. They come from Peru or something. And I really liked them. And then I found out later that there's a whole line of ahi peppers. And so this past season, I planted ahi pineapple and ahi mango. And they all have a similar, very fruity, ambient heat kind of taste. And it makes an excellent pepper sauce. So I planted those plants this year and they flourished, even though I had my backyard redone into a patio and had to move the plants out into the driveway, which was not ideal at all. These plants really did flourish. In fact, it is now mid-December. A week ago, I was still picking peppers. So I decided to make some pepper sauce, take it with me to Tobago, and it's a hit. And so I have some more in the freezer to take with me. And, this could turn into a business depending on, how it works. But I didn't realize that those peppers were going to be any kind of significant thing on this vision board. But I think that making this vision board, while at the time I thought it was kind of corny, it was actually a very good thing. And I haven't pulled it out in a really long time, since I took it down from my office, which was more than a year ago. And then just in the bed this morning thinking about it, decided to pull it back out. So that's my story, my wildest dreams coming true. I don't know if I'm going to make another video before I'm headed to Trinidad and Tobago. I hope I do, but I don't know. If you could see this room, it's a whole disaster because I am actually moving. It's not my final move though, because I have to come back and, like undo things and, make final decisions and, close out things like that. But I decided to go ahead because I really had my mind set on going in December, because another dream that I had was, and this is from I don't know how long, since I was, maybe in my 20s. I always dreamed that I would love to spend Christmas not in the United States. But back then I was more into in a place that wasn't Christian, because Christmas became too much and I don't like it anymore. So I would fantasize every single year about leaving right after Thanksgiving and not coming back until mid-January. I didn't get to leave right after Thanksgiving, but I'm leaving this week and I'm not coming back until after my birthday in January. And that's the closest to that dream that I have been. Um, from then on out, I'm just going to be living outside the country. So, and and Christmas is a big deal in Trinidad and Tobago, but it's a little different than what it is here. It's a lot more um, organic celebration and spirit than just, buying things and, you know, giving people random unappreciated gifts and stuff like that. It's about food and it's about people, and I can't even purport to tell you that much about it because I haven't experienced it yet. But after that, I will definitely get back to you and fill you in on Christmas and Trinidad and Tobago. So this is it. I will see you soon. I will bring you to Trinidad and Tobago. So just stay tuned and happy holidays.